Bonjour, salut, konnichiwa. Hello, fifth graders. Welcome to Miss Wilson's online classroom. I miss you all and I hope to see you soon. Class is now in session. Let's look at our learning target or our goal for the end of this lesson. Our learning target is, what do I want to be able to do by the end of this lesson? Let's go ahead and read our learning target. It says, I will analyze plot elements, including the rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Well, let's look at our word in bold. That's our action verb, which is analyze. Well, what does it mean to analyze? We've heard that word before. We've seen it many times in the lessons that we do. But what does it actually mean? Remember from our previous lessons, when we analyze, we are breaking it down into smaller parts. We're breaking it down so that we can determine the relationship between the parts. Well, how will I know that I've mastered this? Well, you'll know that you've mastered this target or this skill when you're able to break down plot elements into smaller pieces to determine the relationship between the exposition, which is the introduction, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. As we go through the lesson, I want you to think about how the elements form a complete story. Let's watch this introductory video on plot elements. At the end of the video, I want you to check your understanding by answering, what are the elements of plot?
If you're going to Plot Mountain, you gotta start somewhere. We'll call this the introduction. And guess what happens there? You describe the characters and the settings. That's the who, what, when, and where. The characters are the people that are there. What do they look like? Why should we care? And the setting is the place where they be. What exactly do the characters see on their way to Plot Mountain? At the start of Plot Mountain, you're gonna have to go up. We call this the rising action, and here starts the plot. There's a conflict in the story. You should describe exactly what. Like a character has a problem to work through with themselves or the world. What should they do? Or maybe there's some big arguments or some dramatic natural events on the way up Plot Mountain. Keep going up Plot Mountain until you reach the top. We call this the climax, and here you cannot stop. You must face the biggest problem that leads to a turning point. Here the story is the most intense, with emotions, drama, and suspense. But action like this cannot stay. The story must change and go a different way on the top of Plot Mountain. After the top of Plot Mountain, you're gonna start to go down. We call this the falling action, and it lasts until flat ground. There's still action in the story, but it will start to slow down. So the worst is over, yeah, the worst is through, but now what will the characters do? There are still some problems, how long will they last? And don't forget the ending is coming fast on the way down Plot Mountain. After climbing down Plot Mountain, well, it's gotta end somewhere. We call this the resolution, and what will happen there? You should answer all the questions until you are aware that the conflicts in the story from before aren't there anymore, unless there's gonna be a sequel or a part 2, and then you'll have to think, what will the characters do the next time on Plot Mountain?
Let's talk about the plot elements and the vocabulary that we will need. The first vocabulary word is exposition. Exposition is the introduction of characters, the setting, the background. It's the beginning of the story. Then we have rising action. Rising action are the events that lead up to the climax. It's the beginning, middle, end. It's like the build up that leads us to the climax. The climax is the highest point of tension or a deciding moment in the story. It's the most exciting point in the story. It includes the major event in which the character experiences an important change. After climax, we have the falling action. Falling action are the events that follow the climax. It's events that happen after all of the excitement. We find out how the characters feel and what they do after all of the excitement. After that, we come to the resolution. The resolution is how the problem was solved. It's the conclusion. It's that now that the problem is solved, how have the characters changed? What impact did it have on them? What lessons did they learn? Listen as I read a folk tale from the British Isles. Wren and Eagle. Before reading, I want you to ask yourself, what are the elements of plot? I want you to go ahead and take about 30 seconds and go ahead and write down the elements of plot. Remember, our elements of plot is the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Let's go ahead and read the story now. Wren and Eagle, a folk tale from the British Isles. Many years ago, the birds of the world saw that humans were ruled by a king. The birds decided they wanted to be like humans and have a king to lead them as well. So the birds went to Owl to ask how a king should be selected. Owl suggested that the bird among them who could fly the highest should serve as king. A contest was announced. Birds of all sorts assembled at the starting line. Wren, being of small size, struggled to make his way through the crowd to participate in the event. When Eagle took his place, the other birds lost hope. One by one, they left their marks, knowing they had no chance against Eagle. Just then, Wren burst through the crowds and found himself beside Eagle on the starting line. Let's take a moment and stop right there. So far, what are the main events in this story? I want you to take another 30 seconds and to go ahead and write down what the main events in this story are. When identifying the main events, we want to identify the main things that have happened so far. Thinking about our learning target or our goal for this lesson, to analyze plot elements. Are there any events that give important background information? Yes, I find my background info in my exposition. We learned that in the beginning, they decided they wanted to have a king. This is a main event because would the uh, events of the story change if I took this event out? Also ask, are there any events that help us understand the character's reason for doing something? Or are there any events that reveal the problem? Let's keep reading. Owl, seeing Eagle and Wren, signal for the contest to begin. Up, up, up flew Eagle on his wings of enormous strength and size. Flapping fiercely, Wren struggled to keep up amid the taunts and jeers of the larger bird. Eagle may have been bigger and stronger, but Wren was cunning. With great effort, he flew to Eagle's back and clung to his feathers unnoticed. When Eagle's strength was spent, well rested Wren took flight, flying higher than Eagle. Wren was named King of the Birds. Now that we're finished reading the story, I want to ask, or we need to ask ourselves, how do the main events in this story form a complete story? Okay? The main events connect or lead to the next event. And what is the sequence of events? We know this, guys. A sequence of events is the plot. These sequence of events create the elements of plot to form a complete story. Think about our learning target. Are you able to identify and explain the elements of plot to show you understand how the elements form a complete story? I want you to answer the discussion question. How would you explain the purpose of each plot element to a classmate? Post your answer inside of Schoology discussion board. Then I want you to use your talking stems and respond to two of your classmates. I've included the talking stems on this slide. Now let's have some fun and be creative. I know many of you love to draw, color, and create. I want you to create your own plot mountain for the story Wren and Eagle. You can use Google Slides, PowerPoint, Prezi, or paper and pencil. I just want you to be creative and have fun. Make sure you include all of the plot elements you learned today. I included an anchor chart in case you needed a visual. When you get done, you can submit it through Schoology so that I will have access to it. Remember, I want you to have fun and make it personal.